think ABBA can bring us all together, in
They
my
really
opinion.
do. They really, I think, are like the universal unifier.
Welcome to Narratives and Nightcaps, books, beverages, and author conversations. I'm Bree, always ready to dive into new fantasy worlds and take a step back in time.
I'm Megan, part critic, always team physical copy, and forever chasing good thrillers and a great plot twist.
I'm Emily, your resident mood reader who thrives on chaos questions and lively book chats.
And I'm Jordan, equal parts heart, humor, and high-functioning caffeine addict. I come with coffee in hand, wine on standby, and a Gilmore Girls quote for every occasion.
Cheers!
Cheers!
Welcome back to Narratives and Nightcaps. She's a writer who lives to tell stories and make people laugh, and this June, she's inviting readers to an unforgettable Italian summer filled with history, second chances, and a search for family. Author Kaitlyn Hill is with me today to talk about her newest romance, Ancient History Between Us. Hi, Kaitlyn.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. You'll have to excuse my dog who has taken this moment to decide he should eat his breakfast right beside me.
I can hear nothing or see nothing, but my dog is also currently like sequestered away because she just has a sense for like when I'm about to be on video or audio talking to anyone and will like choose that time to lose her mind every time. So she's currently
I
got a treat. She's occupied in another room with some white noise.
She said, I can very much relate to that though. I thankfully can see out a window, so it kind of gives me a heads up because he'll be pretty good unless someone comes up to the door or something.
Yes,
So I like to have just an eye out the window so I can mute my microphone if needed. And
right.
as long as no one surprises anything, he'll be good. But he did decide that 1 p.m. Eastern time was his breakfast time. So
It's
hopefully
brunch.
it is. It is. It's brunch, which is also to me probably like a very Italian thing. I just think about
Yeah.
brunch in Italy in the summer. It sounds magical and amazing. So before we go much further, we have to kick off the episode with what your pairing is. What
Yes.
is your nightcap today?
My nightcap would be a good like 1 p.m., brunch beverage. I am choosing a sparkling lemonade, which is a really common thing you find in Europe in general, but I feel like I drank a lot of them in Italy. And uh, in the realm of Cami and West, the book characters, they're doing that. That comes up a fair number of times, as well as the adult alternative limoncello, which is not my nightcap because we're young adult in this novel, and so um, yeah, we are YA friendly, and also it's delicious and refreshing.
It's delicious. And like you said, there's kind of options though. So if you want to have the mocktail version, great. And if you're
Exactly.
old enough to drink responsibly, then you can have the cocktail version. Either one sounds so Italian, but also just summery and refreshing.
Yes.
So I had a feeling you were gonna go that path and love. I love that pairing. It sounds really, really delightful right now. Well, I am curious though, because of a scene, I won't spoil it, but what are your personal thoughts on limoncello?
I like limoncello. I think I only tried it in probably like my late 20s for the first time. And had I tried it at the age of a young adult, were I to happen upon it, like someone may or may not in the book, I would have hated it. Uh, I did not develop a taste for any kind of like liquor really until later. Like, yeah, it took me a while. I had to like really start small and work up to that kind of thing because limoncello is strong.
It's very strong. It's a sipper in my opinion. Um, it's definitely a sipper. Okay, I was very curious though because of a certain scene, and I was like, I wonder, a little curious about what her thoughts are in particular, but we'll get back to that. You also, quote, have never met a tea you didn't like. So, what is your favorite though, and how do you take it?
I have tea right here, right now. Kind of at all times of day, I will have tea. I love a black tea of any kind. most. Those are my favorites. So I start most days with like a hot tea, any kind of flavored black tea, or not flavored, like English breakfast is fine. But in the summer, I make a lot of sweet tea as well, which is like iced tea, but you sweeten it while it's hot and you add ice. And so I have my recipe down, but yeah, that's my preferred like summer beverage any time of day or night. Um, I'm always on caffeine, a lot of caffeine as well.
Same. So I was gonna say, any coffee? Have you ever mix it up, throw in a
No.
cup? Really?
Yeah, I'm not really a coffee person, which that's one funny thing too about when I have been to Italy before is like they are coffee central. And if you order tea anywhere, it is like very weird. And I did so at a coffee shop one time and they literally had to go like find a dusty kettle in the back kitchen somewhere. Like they were like tea, like just it was like I had ordered, I don't know, like garbage or something at the coffee shop and an
Oh,
offense to their sensibilities.
that is so funny. I mean, I feel not the exact same, but similar to trying to order sweet tea up north. People
Yes.
are like, "What do you mean you want sweet tea? Do you want Splenda packets with
Right.
that?" They're like, "What do you want?" And you're like, "No, no, no. There's a full recipe. I
It's
have
just not
it."
the same. Not the same. There's like a rant about this in my first book because it's really like food focused and the main characters are foodies and she's from the South and has it's just my exact sentiments on sweet tea that I wanted to put in a book and immortalized that way. But yeah, you go anywhere outside the South, it's like iced tea and sugar packets, and it's just not the same thing.
It is not the same thing. Well, I'm also would love to know, what have you been reading lately?
I am always reading a lot of romance and I listen to audiobooks pretty much all the time. I always have an audiobook going. What have I listened to lately? Actually, kind of a departure. Recently I listened to what was it called? Mm, it was like it's called A Cute Little Murder. That's what it is, by Molly Harper, who writes some romance and or has written a lot of romance, honestly. But and I've listened to or read her romance before, but this one's kind of a mystery romance hybrid. I think it's relatively new and it was a fun time. I also forget the plot of every book I ever read pretty much as soon as I'm done with it, but there's a murder mystery. it's it was really good. It had a good amount of both the mystery and the intrigue and the like swoony romance and love interest. So I enjoyed it.
You you've piqued my interest. Even if you don't remember it, which I think that that's okay. I know that that's maybe a bit controversial, but I think that there are some books that you read it and you vibe throughout it, and then you say that was a really good time, and you recommend it
Yes.
to people, and you don't have to give a book report on it.
That's pretty much what I can always deliver is like I know I had a great time reading this book. I might remember a couple key details and that's what you get. Um
That's okay. If you had a good
yeah.
time reading it and it made you feel something, then I think you can recommend it. Okay, so we need to look that one up. Well, I guess in a similar other books though, what is one book you always recommend?
Ooh. Gosh, so many. Um I feel like YA, especially YA romance, like there's just been so much amazing YA romance to come out in the last like 10 years. Um, I used to be a bookseller and would kind of have my like go-tos then, and that was like 2018-ish, 2017, 2018. And so much amazing stuff was coming out around then, and it was also like when I was really trying to write um, YA romance myself and like figure out what my niche of that would be. So gosh, what were even like the ones that I would go back to again and again then? Of course, my head's gonna like be empty now. But mid 2010s, good time for YA romance. Gosh, okay, Kaitlyn, what have you even read? I'm looking at my bookshelf straight in front of me now.
I do that all the time. I turn around and I'm like,
Yeah.
and what are books? What
Yeah.
have I been
I
reading?
used to like in the bookstore, they would just be right there. So I just kind of like roam the shelves with someone when they told me what they were looking for and like wait till something actually clicked in my head as just like looked at it straight on. On my shelves now, honestly, I have so many from more recent years that are like since I've been writing and publishing and friends of mine put out books and stuff. Oh, a YA romance author I always recommend, who is also a friend of mine, but if she wasn't my friend, I would still read and recommend her, is Samantha Markham. She writes, I think we write pretty similar kind of types of YA, like they're funny, kind of dry humor and uh, upper YA, like older teens and college students sometimes. And all of her books have been amazing. Her first one, though, This May End Badly, like is one of my favorite books of all time. It is a boarding school book. An all girls boarding school is where the main character goes, but then her love interest is at this nearby all boys boarding school, and they have these like prank wars. And it's just super fun. And it reminds me of like the YA of my teens that made me fall in love with YA romance first. And, but like for the modern age, not that I was a teen that long ago, but it's like that kind of feel, but for today's teen and makes me still want to go to boarding school. Like I always have thought that sounds fun, even though I know it's probably different in real life than in books, but deep down, I want that experience still.
I agree. I think the literature experience, the romanticized version I have of that, and often from reading from the books that I read in
Yes.
my teens, I agree with you. I'm like, that would have been a really cool experience. I'm sure it's very different in real life, but
Yeah.
that sounds like a book that I would definitely enjoy. And I love the title too. I love that.
Yes. Yes, I do too. It's a great title cover. It just stands out to me in my head as one that I'm always telling people to read.
Great recommendation. Going in a totally different direction now, what is your dream travel destination right now? Like if you could go anywhere today, where would you go?
Good question. I've never been to Asia before, and I've been to Europe and South America a, a decent amount, but would could do more of them. But like Asia, I feel like a lot of places over there look so incredibly beautiful and so unlike anything I've seen before. And I would love to do like Southeast Asia, go to Thailand and that kind of thing. My brother and my mom went to Japan last year, and I was so jealous. Their looked so amazing. So yeah, maybe one of these days I'll just like hop around this giant continent that has so many different places because I can't name one single part of it I want to see the most. But there's so much on that side of the world that I just have not even gotten close to exploring yet.
Oh,
So yeah, maybe I'll
same.
start with Thailand. I'll start with Thailand. Looks so beautiful. Beaches look incredible. Go from there.
That seems like a good starting point. I'm right with you. I have not been to that part of the world. I haven't been to many part of this incredible globe that, as you mentioned, is just so hard to get to
Yeah.
all of it. But I would love to take an adventure, go over there. Where have you been in South America? Asking because I'm going for the first time this year. So,
Yeah, I have been to Chile, and it was like many years ago at this point. But absolutely beautiful, and I didn't even see that much of it. I didn't even go down to like Patagonia, and I would love to do that
me too.
still. And then my husband has been to a lot more of it. He like studied abroad when we were in college and was in Peru, and I desperately want to go to Peru ever since he was there for a semester because there it
There you
has
go.
like a million different landscapes in one place. So that's another dream travel destination, actually.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're going to Peru this fall, and we're going to be there essentially over the course of 2 weeks, including our travel
Yeah,
time. And even then, I feel like we're not going to see everything that we would want to see. And I
totally.
have already, I'm like, we're going to have to go back to Peru because we can't do everything that we
Yeah.
want to do in that 2 week period.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like he was there for even a whole semester, and now it's also been a long time, but he even then was like, there's still more that I could go see, and he was out doing excursions every weekend and stuff. So, tiny country, but has a lot to do and see there, apparently.
It really does. We're so excited about it. Okay, as I was telling you, so that in case you, I figured you were, but just in case, but I'm obsessed with ABBA, and we
Yes.
have a
How
bit
could
of
you
Mamma
tell?
Mia, a bit of Mamma Mia inspo, with ancient history between us. But I would love to know, what is your favorite ABBA song?
Ooh, I love Lay All Your Love on Me.
So good.
Probably in large part from like its part in Mamma Mia is so good, and in any version of Mamma Mia, like stage show or movie, it is such a good scene. Um, and I have this really fond memory of dancing to it at my wedding reception with my husband, where we just were like having the best time, and kind of like dance circle formed, and we just kind of serenaded each other with that song, which is so ridiculous and over the top, and um, just super super fun. There's silly videos that exist for that I could use, that could be used for blackmail for either of us, really, but fortunately have never been used in a malicious way against us, so only for fun reliving that hilarious time.
I don't have any from my wedding, but I think there are some existing embarrassing videos of me singing ABBA songs very poorly because I'm a horrible singer,
Same.
but I love to sing some ABBA. So that is a great song, great memories. If there was one ABBA song that you paired with ancient history between us, what would it be?
Mm, I guess Mamma Mia is a go-to because it's so like specific to the plot of the show Mamma Mia, and the movie, which has some ties to the plot of this book, with Cammy figuring out her parentage and that kind of thing. So that one's a good one, I think. Honey Honey is a fun one too, because of it's now like, if you haven't seen Mamma Mia at this point, you're gonna be like, miss, like, just not understand most of what I'm talking about right now. And be like, all right, well, this is useless, skip. But it also is like in the show and the movie. It's the main character Sophie going through her mom's old journals to the song Honey Honey, and that's what Cammy is kind of on a journey doing, is like going through her mom's old records to figure out what she was doing 20 summers ago when she had Cammy, and or 20 years ago when she would have become pregnant with Cammy, and she's like trying to detective out who who was around, who were the players involved, and they're all like unhelpfully named by initials. And I think that song would need to be longer to span the course of the book, but uh could describe a lot of that whole dad hunt journey.
It could. And so with that, you just jumped in perfectly into one portion of ancient history between us. Um, but tell us about a little bit more the pitch too for in the midst of Cammy trying to discover who her real dad is, there's this reuniting with her friend West as well. So give us the quick pitch about the two of them and their story.
Yeah, so the ancient history in the title is referring mainly to Cammy and West, our two main characters, who he kind of gets unwittingly roped into this journey of looking for her dad. But they are former childhood best friends. Their parents are both archaeologists of some renown who grew up, or while Cammy and West were growing up, their parents worked together and traveled the world together, and Cammy and West were brought along and spent a lot of their childhood together and have all these fond memories. And as they got older, they started to fall for each other and that kind of ended disastrously 3 summers ago. And they haven't seen each other since. And this summer, their parents kind of surprised them, or didn't tell them both before they agreed to come on this journey, that they are working together again for the first time in 3 years. And surprise, Cami and Wes, now you are back together for the summer in the same Italian villa. And Cami has come with this mission of trying to find her dad, who she knows her mom met while she was in Italy 20 years ago. But surprise, also, there's this hitch in your plans of this boy you thought you were done with, thought you had gotten rid of in your life. He's back, and he is all up in your business again, and you have to actually maybe face what you left behind in when you thought you ended your relationship 3 years ago, and figure out what really went wrong there, and if there's actually a future to be had with him. So that was not the shortest of pitches, but kind of sums up where we're at in the beginning of the story.
I think it's perfect because there were a lot of layers to it that I really appreciated. There's the fun Mamma Mia inspired aspect of it too, but so many subplots that you got into with I think that age, and not just the relationship, that the possible second chance between them, the friends to enemies, loose enemies. I know some people get upset when they're like they're not real and I'm like, okay, but they're
Yeah.
not friends. Friends to not to definite not friends to like friends again to do they want to be something more? But it also just encompassed I mean I read it and I thought back a lot to myself at that age and the relationship that I was in, which the relationship I was in at 20 is that person is now my husband. But like all that to say, we definitely when you go through a relationship at that point in your life and you're changing so much and it's really a matter of like are you going to grow together and that's hard. And so for me too, there was so much of that you encompassed too, like a lot of the anxieties that people can have at any point in life, but like West in particular, he's really battling a lot of anxiety and has been, and what that looks like for his future. So I think you summed it up really well, that there's a lot to this sun-soaked summer in Italy. It's there's a lot happening.
Yeah, I agree, and I appreciate your relating to it as well, because that is also where I was at 20, is dating my now husband, and a lot of the inspiration in this one in particular, like a lot of my YA romance, I don't know, people are always like, "Is this about you and him?" And in truth, like, no, I write fiction, like it usually is not. There'll be like qualities in this character that come from me or from him or whatever, but this one is probably the most like directly similar to some of our early relationship stuff, where there is just like so much growing up you have to do when you meet someone that young, and you either have to do or you don't stay together. Like you grow up individually, and it's do you grow together, and do you grow in ways that you're still compatible, or not? And in many cases, probably the majority, you don't, and like that's for the best. Many people shouldn't end up with the person that they're at 16, 17, or 20 even. But in other cases you do, and it's great. You have all this cool history, and sometimes really funny, messy history to look back on and be like, look how far we've come. Um,
Yeah, it is always interesting to look back and be like, you remember that 2 week period that we broke up for this like super dumb reason?
yes.
And yeah, we look back at that now and we kind of like giggle and laugh about it and just the silliness that it was. But you have a lot of fun, fond memories and then a lot of messy history too, but which thankfully for us is mostly stuff that we can laugh about today and we look back
Yes.
on with humor and feel super fortunate for that. But I will
Right.
say at the same time, being together for at such an early age, like we also went through a lot of heavy things together that maybe weren't necessarily us personally, although I think we both had personal things that we had to grow through and work through. But we
Yeah.
also had a lot of heavy life things happen that we were able to navigate together. And some people don't. And to your point, it's often for the best. But then there are the cases too where you do. And I know I look back and I'm so thankful for, like, I can't imagine not having this person that I do have this history with
Right.
because nobody knows me or what I've gone through. And likewise for him too, that I'm like, I'm so glad we get to take on life together and have the context.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it is very similar for us. And I think, as you were saying, like that age range, that time in your life, your early 20s, late teens, like you as an individual are undergoing so much change in the first place. But it is very like tumultuous time for a lot of people. There's just so many life transitions. And it just, yeah, in my case and in so many of my friends' cases, like that was when a ton of real world stuff really like starts to hit for the first time. And yeah, you face it together and find you're even better for it and stronger for it when you come out, or like, yeah, this wasn't the right person to face this with. We're gonna maybe go our separate ways now or whatever. But if you do keep coming out better, yeah, you build up all of this shared experience, and it is always like, yeah, we have sometimes over the years been like, imagine explaining any of this. Like if something happened, just, the worst happens and for some reason we break up. Imagine explaining any of this at like square one, starting over with someone new. It's like, cannot imagine, like, where do I even begin with? And there's all your personal lore this person has been there for and doesn't need explanation. At a certain point you can just like know, oh, they're gonna like respond to XYZ this way because I've seen them respond to this way again and again and again. Or we had this shared experience together that makes me know they're gonna, I don't know, choose this, do this. And you can still surprise each other. It doesn't like get super boring and predictable in a like not fun way, I think. But it is, yeah, it's so funny and interesting and becomes more so over the years knowing someone that deeply and thoroughly.
We have had similar conversations morbidly, and but I'm also we joke all the time. I'm like, if for any reason this didn't work out, I'm like, I don't know that I could do it again. I don't know that I could start over and say, okay, so here's everything that you missed out on that is why I am this way today or anything like that.
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, so we're very similar in that it sounds like. Well, I would love to know too then, other than your own experiences, not just with your relationship, but what did your experience in Italy, how did that contribute to this story as well? Did you enjoy writing about places that you went to, or what was that like?
Yeah, the story definitely takes place in the part of Italy I've spent the most time in, which incidentally is also tied to my husband. Sorry for him being the subject of all my stories about the inspiration for this book, but his job is what took us there a lot for a little while, and or it took him there more, but I would sometimes get to tag along on his work trips and stuff. But he worked on this really interesting project, and still kind of works adjacent to it, but it's an ongoing thing that involved some like archaeological stuff, but he's a computer scientist like West. But
It's all
there's,
coming together.
I know, there's references to his specific project in the book a couple times where West is like, they're at a museum and West is like, hey, look at this really cool thing about the Herculaneum scrolls. And Cammy's like, yeah, whatever. Boring. Anyway, here, back to my dad. But that is his project that he has worked on off and on over the years and did his like PhD research on and all that stuff. It's a really interesting project. Go look up the Herculaneum scrolls if you want more on that. But the broad strokes are um, that it is this place that was buried when Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD, AD 79. I don't know. I think you say AD first now, um, and or technically, and buried Pompeii. It also buried this town called Herculaneum, and there was this villa there that had a whole library of scrolls that got buried in this certain type of pyroclastic flow or something that like preserved it in this really particular way. And there's all these scrolls that were carbonized, and they're now trying to use like computer science, CT scans and other stuff like that, to virtually unwrap and read the scrolls because they can't be physically unwrapped. And so it's like a really super interesting project. But all of that loosely inspired the fictional villa that Cammy's mom discovered or rediscovered in the book that does not really exist, but was buried when Mount Vesuvius erupted and buried Pompeii. And it was this big discovery that she made while she was pregnant with Cammy and when she was first working in Italy as a young archaeologist 20 years ago. And that's what brings them there in the first place. And it's in the greater Naples metropolitan area. So there's Pompeii's nearby. We get to like go stop at Pompeii. We spend a lot of time in the city of Naples, which I just think is like not one that I see depicted a whole lot in popular fiction. And so it was really fun for me to get to kind of highlight this city that I'd spent some time in and cool places there. Like, I don't know, it's just not always like on the map for, I feel like, tourists, like in the way that Rome or Florence or Venice are, but has a lot of amazing stuff there and deserves to get its due. A lot of cruise ships stop there. If you go on a cruise, you might go there, but otherwise, I don't know that it always makes people's Italy itinerary when it's really beautiful. And especially things like the food are absolutely incredible. It claims the invention of pizza as being a Naples thing. So I don't know if other places claim that too, but Naples really strongly identifies with having invented pizza. And the pizza is like some of the best food I've ever eaten. So I have very fond memories there and really like fun just connections to that place that I got to make little Easter eggs in the book, and had a really good time with that. So I loved putting that experience in there. And then the whole like archaeology plotline was just, yeah, loosely inspired by this world that I was kind of orbiting for a while and still kind of am very on the outskirts of, usually just like as a +1. Like I don't actually have any sort of job in that world. But I find it so interesting, and I've learned so much about just like historic preservation and stuff in Italy in particular, and whole fields I didn't know existed, like papyrology, that is the study of papyrus. Huge field in Europe. Has nothing to do with this book either, but is one of the things that like just in spending time with people in that realm inspired, like, I would love to write a girl who's been dreaming of being an archaeologist like her mom, an academic like her mom, and works in this kind of world that really appreciates ancient history and ancient artifacts and archaeological sites. So it was really fun to make a fictional version of that too, and challenging.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it is definitely both. One, really quick, your husband's job sounds fascinating, even in the loosest.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds so interesting.
Yeah.
Um, But too, yeah, I mean, if you're a reader like me who loves romance, who also loves history, I will say, I'm not a history buff. I am not a history expert. I'm not a historian on any,
Right.
but I love history. I love just discovering new places. And in particular, I mean, Europe is just so filled with it. Like, it is just one of the most, I mean, that's part of the reason I always feel so, I guess, drawn to going to because I love it's just it's mind blowing to think
Yeah.
about. Italy, I haven't been to. I was supposed to go a few years ago, but then COVID kind of derailed those
Bad
plans.
time for that.
Yeah, it was a little bit rough. So didn't make it to Italy, but I am going next year.
Ooh,
And
yay.
so now you've already got me thinking like, okay, so Naples needs to be on our agenda to
Yeah.
for a real stop. We'll have some pizza for you. Um,
Absolutely.
we can absolutely do that. When we were planning it a few years ago, we were definitely going to go to Pompeii because that
Yeah.
has been on my list for a very long time is to explore the Mount Vesuvius area. This
Yeah.
is such a nerdy niche reference, but when I was in high school, I was in band, I was in the concert band, and we played a piece called Pompeii.
Wow.
And to this day, so I will say I was literally like the worst band student. Maybe not the worst, but I was not first chair. I was not second chair.
Yeah.
I was practically forced to be there despite the fact that I actually loved everybody else in band and I like so I was I was being a difficult teenager through all of
Uh-huh.
that, but we played this we played this song called Pompeii and I still think about it. I think about how much I loved that piece in particular and maybe that was what kicked off my interest in that area of the world
Yeah.
specifically.
You've got to go. When you go, you have to take your old instrument, whatever instrument you played, and like whip it out and play your part in that song
I
while you're there.
I'll have to like find the score or something and my flute. I think my flute is still with my parents. Yep,
Yeah.
so there's me. I played the flute and piccolo and the Pompeii, whoever if anyone else out there knows that song. The only
I bet there are people. It's such an interesting place, and Pompeii is a really incredible place to visit. I was only there for like a day, and you can't see it all in a day. Like there is just so much. Um, and Herculaneum is another nearby town that has a big archaeological site. It's just not as big as Pompeii and not as famous for assorted reasons, but I think it was like much harder to excavate than Pompeii, and then maybe was like not preserved as well or something. Don't quote me on that, honestly, but it's just not as like well known and smaller scale than Pompeii, but it's still a really, really cool place to go visit. And you can see them both in one go. And there's a few others around there. I wasn't there for like, you know, a month or anything, but just endless places to explore. And it was really fun picking out the ones that Cami and West would go find.
that would be so exciting to write. Well, on that note too, though, in your acknowledgments, you mentioned that this story in particular was really challenging. Do you care to share more about that? Like, how was this one different from your first three novels, and what did it take to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I this was the first one that I sold in. It was the second book in a two book deal. Just to get into kind of like the publishing nuts and bolts slightly. Like previously, I'd sold one book at a time. First book was one book deal. Second book was one book deal. Third book, they wanted to buy it, and then an untitled on like I hadn't even proposed a fourth book, but it was awesome. They came back and were like, "We'd love to get this one you proposed and another yet undecided fourth book from you." Great, like awesome. Your publisher has enough faith in you to want to keep working with you past even the books you proposed. Like it was wonderful and super exciting. And the third book I wrote was Wild About You, and I had like arguably the easiest time like drafting that one. It came just so like naturally, and the idea came to me, I think, so fully formed, and like I just knew the characters so well from kind of the get-go, and had such a good time writing it, and was so proud of how it turned out. And yeah, that was just like overall a pretty good experience. And then get to, okay, like book four, I have no idea for it. I have no like even starting point. What on earth is this going to be? And I hadn't even really like worked with my editor on that kind of project before, where I was like, how do I even like tell you what I want to work on next, and do you, how you approve it and all of that. um but we took her a few different ideas, and she had said, yeah, I like this one. And the first version of that was a book that is not ancient history between us. It was like a completely different idea. It was going to be at the beach in America, and in just like a totally different setup, setting, characters, everything. And I tried to draft that for a few months and just was getting nowhere. Like, really kind of had, I don't even know. Like it was, I guess, fall of 2023 at this, no, fall of 2024. Well, timeline's weird in my head, but at that point, I think Wild About You wasn't out yet, but I was still just like coming off the high of like, that was a really good experience. I really knew what I was doing there. And then every book is kind of like that, where you've just been in the finished stages of the last one when you're starting, or not necessarily, but for me, every book's been like that, where I've just finished one when I really like start the next. And so you go from like really completed, beautifully edited, fully formed thing to like a blank page again. And it's always hard. But this time it just was not, I was not getting much more than the blank page. It just was not happening. So I had a like big panic breakdown, went back to square one, and kind of went back to my editor. I think at this time my editor, not to blow up her spot, but I think this was around when my editor had a baby. And so she was also like on maternity leave. And something about the timing of it, of me having a mental breakdown, trying to write the idea that didn't go anywhere, and her being on maternity leave, all timed out so that I had a lot of time and space to figure out what I actually wanted to do, and like go back into the drawing board, rewrite what the idea was even going to be. And she was so wonderful and patient with me on that, and just like so understanding, probably because she was like, I'm not even at work right now. Like, I'm in like happy new motherhood land. It's just do your thing. I don't care. And so thanks to editor Hannah for that. But that allowed me to kind of take more time and figure out what ancient history was going to be. And I guess around this time, there were a few different kind of romance adventure things coming out, like books, but also movies. Like The Lost City with Sandra Bullock is like the one that stands out in my head, um, as one that I saw and was like, okay, this was so much fun. I want to write like an adventure mystery, kind of suspenseful, but like mostly adventure romance. Um, and so that was kind of the idea I was working with, and the archaeology thing came into being, and Cami being the daughter of a famous archaeologist, and being in Italy, and who's the love interest going to be. It all kind of like built out from there. And even still, it took a while to click, and I tried really hard to make more of like an external to them mystery that they were trying to solve. Like, there's some National Treasure-esque, like, I don't know, long hidden conspiracy that had to do with Pompeii and Mount Vesuvius. And like, that was just like, I was trying to make it way harder than it needed to be. And at some point, something hit me, and I was like, Kaitlyn, your favorite movie franchise ever is Mamma Mia. And I've like said for years that I would love to do something Mamma Mia inspired. Um, and it just clicked, and I was like, okay, this will be Mamma Mia book. The mystery she's trying to solve is who is her dad. And also, though, it's not the whole focus of the book, it's her also falling in love. And then they're both going to be, whole people with their own individual journeys, too. And all that's going on there. So, probably because of all of that and all the ways that it just like was built up over time, is probably why it turned out the most like layered and the most kind of subplots and different things going on of anything that I've written so far. But it, yeah, so it just like took the most time in general to get bit by bit the draft written out, and then each revision kind of further fleshing out who these people are and what their journeys are going to be. Uh, but yeah, it took the most like returning to the basics of plotting and um, planning characters and things like that again and again and again before I figured out what it was going to be. And the Mamma Mia piece really like was a huge, huge time that it all started falling into place. Yeah, and in the end, I was like having fun with it at last. But it took so long to get to that point. It was a long time of feeling like I was pulling teeth before it finally started to flow. So hopefully to the reader, it just comes across as this must have been fun and easy. But it was not from my side for a long time until it was in the very end.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people that write, though, can definitely relate. So,
Yeah.
I guess, now that you've kind of reflected on that and hopefully are just so excited about it reaching readers here really soon, what advice would you have for other writers or aspiring writers who may be in a similar spot? What, maybe not, obviously, probably not the exact same. I don't know that there's everyone has timing wise had like their editor also have a baby and they
Right.
get, but I think that, well, don't think, I know that so many other writers can definitely relate to that. What advice would you share?
Yeah, I think a lot of people hit that point. First of all, like as I was dealing with it and as I was struggling the most, I was like, this is so unusual for me. Like all my other books, they haven't necessarily been easy, but like it's just happened. The planning of it, the brainstorming, the like outlining had always happened more easily, and just figuring out even what I wanted it to be, even if it wasn't there yet, had been simpler. And I was like, is my brain broken? Like, can I not do this anymore? And every time I would even talk to any writing friend in the most like high level way about it, like barely even telling them what's going on, I would always hear like, "Oh my God, yeah, I've had that happen with every book," or like, so many people experience it this time and time again, and it's almost like part of their process is like struggle, struggle, struggle until it finally clicks. And I would love to not have that be my process for every book, but we'll see. um, but first of all, don't think that struggling to figure out what you want it to be, or struggling at any point in the process, but especially in the early stages, when it feels like it should just be like fun and easy and spouting ideas off and everything like that. Don't feel like that being a struggle means that it's not going to come together eventually, or like you're not cut out for this, you can't do it. Like there's so many different ways to write a book, and for so many people it's just going to take what feels like way longer than you want it to, or what feels like a more complicated path than you want it to be. But just like let your process be what it is, and don't lose faith in yourself and your ability to still tell a story. Because I think if you're doing it, if you're writing out of just like the love of writing at the end of the day, like it gets complicated when publishing becomes a part of it, and there's all kinds of outside noise and things to consider about like it eventually becoming a book and selling and things like that. But like to be a writer, I think you just ultimately have to love the writing. And if you love the writing, you're always going to like figure it out. You're always going to figure it out in the end and come back to that baseline of this is what you love to do, and telling stories is what you love to do. And so just like trust yourself, give yourself grace, give yourself the time and space to figure it out. Especially pre-publication, gosh, take as much time and space as you need. Like that is the time. You have no like deadlines and people breathing down your neck to get different things done. Like embrace that and just let yourself explore, wander. I'm also a big proponent of like refilling the creative well, taking time where you're not writing and you're just reading a bunch, you're watching a bunch of shows and movies. Like TV and movies are a way underrated way to inspire yourself, and it's not like lowbrow or something relative to reading. Like I think people often think of like reading books as somehow like a, I don't even know, a morally superior way to consume media or something, to like watching things. And that's not true. It's really powerful to take in stories in any fashion that resonates with you and doesn't feel tiring to your brain, but refills the idea well and creative well. So yeah, that's a lot of different ways of saying like be nice to yourself, give yourself time and space, and always be just watching and listening for things that resonate with you, stories that resonate with you, and inspire you.
Honestly, whether you're writing or in another creative space, I think that's a great message for anyone to, and whether it's a reminder or a refresher, or you're in the midst of the trenches of whatever creative project you're working on, I think that that is just something that hearing that even on a daily basis for I think a lot of creative people is good. So hopefully it resonates with somebody.
Yeah.
So this is your fourth romance novel now though. What do you enjoy most about the romance genre, both as a writer and a reader?
Ooh. I think I enjoy so much the guarantee of a happy ending, like HEA. The resolution um in the end is like just always going to be the most satisfying part to me as a reader. Like I enjoy a good struggle to get there, and the yearning and the ups and downs and all of that, and the ending is like way more powerful for having gone through all of that. It's way more, it means it like hits way harder when they have been through their ups and downs and things like that. But like I am so comforted throughout whatever struggles the couple goes through, knowing that we're going to get to a good place in the end. And unless you're reading a series and you have to wait till book 2 or 3 or whatever, and then I'm just dying and will be in pain for too long. But I'll still go through it for the right book and story. But yeah, I love the guaranteed HEA. I like need that in my life. I need that in my media. I get upset when I consume non-romance novel forms of media and there's a romance arc and it's gonna like end tragically or end unsatisfyingly in any way. I'm like, this sucks relative to like romance. I need every couple to end up, unless they're bad for each other or something. I need every good couple to end up happily together in the end. So yeah, I enjoy that the most as a reader, probably. As a writer, I haven't really thought about that. Like the difference in what I enjoy as a reader versus writer. But I think I have so much fun as a writer with the like tension and writing kind of flirting and dialogue that's the back and forth between the characters, the push and pull before they have finally given in to liking each other or admitting their feelings for each other or anything like that. I love writing that stage and dropping the hints along the way and just letting it build. Yeah, I love that part of it. the most, and it's fun to write them happily together too. That's fun for me.
I completely agree. Although I am someone that, and this came up recently, I can handle a handful, maybe less than a handful of tragedies a year, but I have to
Yes.
space them out appropriately because I am someone that feels them so deeply that
Yeah.
it can take me absolutely, it can take me months to recover. So we were even just talking about that because I was apparently punishing myself and I started my year off with a read like that. And we were just talking on the podcast about how I am just now in a spot where I'm getting recommendations for others that are similar. It's like, and you know it, you know that you don't know what's going to happen specifically because I haven't read it yet, but I do know that I'm in for heartbreak. And I was just telling on the podcast, I'm like, I'm now 6 months post my last one. And so I do feel I'm approaching a period where I could handle one of them, but I have to be so strategic in when I read that. And I
Yes.
have to make sure there's plenty of other happily ever afters and maybe like a few fantasies, throw in a good, like I just have to have all these other palate cleansers
Yes.
because a tragedy just wrecks me.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I will get so invested, and it does not make a difference that I know it's like fully fictional. It was fully like a normal person like me just made this up. Um, I will be like devastated as if the people are real and this has happened to me or my friend or something. So, yeah, I really have to be careful with, yeah, when I consume them and how, and spacing them out. That's a good point. Yeah. Give
His
yourself the cushion of all the like satisfying endings or whatever if you know you're
yes,
gonna take in something that leaves you broken.
exactly, exactly. Well, on a happier note though, you are headed out on a little book tour here really
Yeah.
soon. What are a few of the stops for readers and listeners, and what are you most excited about?
I am so excited to be just back doing events. My last book came out in 2024, and so I have didn't do any like I did a couple events last year, but didn't do any like book release type things last year. And yeah, it's been a really rough year, honestly, so far. And this has been not very like on my mind a lot, just in light of a lot of other personal life things happening. And so getting back into it has kind of like been a bright spot and like reminded me, oh, hey, like this book that I actually finished quite a while ago and has not been top of mind is a thing that I did and I'm proud of. And I get to go talk about it with friends and with readers again, um, and or for the first time for this book. And so that's going to be really fun. I'm going to start in Lexington, Kentucky, which is my hometown, and I'll be at my local indie where I've gotten to do a launch for every book so far. So that's been awesome. So that'll be on Pub Day, June 23rd. And then I'm going to a novel romance in Louisville, Kentucky, just about an hour from me. But it's a relatively new romance bookstore. Kentucky's only romance bookstore, as far as I know. They're awesome. Uh, then I'm going to Knoxville, Tennessee, where there's Good Girl Books, another romance bookstore that just opened in the last couple of years. And they're super cool. And then Carmel slash Indianapolis greater area, but Carmel, Indiana at MacArthur Books with my agent, who is my conversation partner. She lives up there, and I'm really excited to have a conversation with her. It's going to be like mix of book talk and like just agent author talk and then ending up at the last chapter in Chicago, which is where my sister lives. So she's going to make all her friends go, but allegedly, but you can also come if you're in the Chicago area. So yeah, that is the event schedule for now. And it'll be so fun to get to talk to readers about this one. I hope we see some people there.
I'm sure you will. And I hope that it fills your cup too and gives you time to celebrate everything that you put into this and the time that it took to. So I hope it's just a really like joyful, bright time period surrounded by other people who love your books and love romance. That'll be so much fun.
Thank you. I think it will be too. I'm quite excited.
I can imagine. Well, for everyone else who maybe isn't in the Indiana, Kentucky, Illinois, Tennessee area, where is the best place for them to connect with you online?
Yeah, I am on Instagram the most. I'm on there as the Kaitlyn Hill, and then at thekaitlynhill.com. I have a newsletter also that is hosted on Substack, but you can get to it from my website, and it's all under the Kaitlyn Hill. So, yeah, and Kaitlyn with a K. I don't know. There's a million ways to spell Kaitlyn, but hopefully you just Google your best guess, and I'll be there.
Oh, that's so true. I don't know why I didn't even think about that. But yes, lots of ways to spell Caitlin,
Maybe
but
like,
Caitlin with a K.
yeah, like looking at the episode name, it'll
Yeah,
have my name in it. So,
that'll help. We'll also link to it.
yeah,
I will also say you'll know when you get to her website because it is the very, very cute, amazing, adorable, like it embodies her spirit and her writing. So you'll
thank
know
you.
when you've made it to the right place. But I will happily link to it to make it easier for everybody as well.
Thank you. That reminds me of semi recently, my grandpa was looking for, I don't know what he was even doing, but he Googled me and like came up with my website, but he's always on his phone, and he was like, "You guys, Caitlin's on Google." And like
Oh,
showed everyone that like my website was the top Google result. And
that's
I
so
was just like,
cute.
okay, just about anyone is on Google actually, but um, but
That
yes,
is
it is
precious,
me.
though. Yes, that is indeed me. And I created that website, with
Yeah,
very cool.
I'm
Well,
on Google.
you're on Google. Narratives and Nightcaps is also on Google. If anybody wants to
Exactly.
Google it, it's there. Caitlin, thank you so much for joining me today, for obsessing over ABBA with me and taking us deeper into like your passion for romance, but also the incredible story behind the story. That is like one of the things that I absolutely love to uncover and feel so privileged and honored because of this podcast to get into. So thank you for sharing that with us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun to chat. I'm so glad that you just happened to also be a mega fan of ABBA. That was a good call.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. As soon as the pitch came in, they're like, "Mamma Mia," and immediately I was like, "How do we
It's
make
me.
this happen?" We have to coordinate this one, so it's perfect. I think ABBA can bring us all together, in
They
my
really
opinion.
do. They really, I think, are like the universal unifier.
I I completely agree. And for everyone listening, just a quick reminder, Ancient History Between Us is available June 23rd. Cheers!
Cheers.
Thanks so much for listening. The Narratives and Nightcaps podcast is a production of the Craft Co. with intro music created by Remington Haynes.
Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow at Narratives and Nightcaps on Instagram or visit our website, narrativesandnightcaps.com.
Sign up for our newsletter to always know what we're reading next, which authors are joining us on the show, and for extra bookish and beverage info.
Connect with our additional co-hosts, Jordan and Emily, as well.
You can find me on Instagram at Cozy Reads and Sips.
And you can find me on Instagram at books.bottles.
Cheers!
Cheers!